Notably regarding the history of helmet graffiti in Vietnam, before the war, such markings rarely appeared on a soldier's gear. The military establishment placed a heavy emphasis on absolute discipline and uniformity among the ranks. Furthermore, there was the practical reality that any decoration would make a soldier a much easier target for an enemy sniper. But this war was very different from other conflicts, as it pitted a technologically advanced superpower against a poorly armed but highly determined enemy. Vietnam introduced U.S. soldiers to brutal conditions that eroded many of their regular military advantages. As tanks were nearly useless in the thick, dense jungles and strategic bombing was ineffective, this war necessitated up-close and personal guerrilla tactics. Therefore, the war came as a complete shock for the inexperienced conscripts of the U.S. Army. These young men had been raised in a consumer-based society and were influenced by counterculture notions regarding the importance of individuality and self-expression. As an act of rebellion, many young U.S. soldiers started to decorate the camouflage cloth covering of their metal helmets. At first, it was simple things like the name of a girlfriend or a favorite music band, but as the war progressed, slogans, symbols, and doodles appeared, with many protesting against the war itself. A few troops even went as far as to sketch a calendar of their tour, meticulously crossing off every month they managed to survive. These anti-war messages often caught the attention of high-ranking officials. When news media organizations were on site, U.S. troops carrying these slogans were often instructed to avoid the cameras. Such customizations drew media attention as soon as the Americans entered the conflict. Larry Wayne Chaffin, serving with the 173rd Airborne Brigade, was famously captured in a photograph with a message scrawled across his helmet's bridge: "War is hell." Other famous slogans included, "Warning, being in Nam may be hazardous to your health. Make war not love," and "I'm not a tourist, I live here." The helmet's headband, which allowed soldiers to carry small items like mosquito repellent or a pack of cigarettes, was also utilized for individual expression. Some soldiers chose to display the Ace of Spades, driven by the erroneous belief that the superstitious North Vietnamese forces viewed it as a symbol of death. American troops would occasionally shove the card into the mouths of fallen enemies, intending to strike terror and demoralize both Viet Cong guerrillas and NVA soldiers. In fact, it only confused the enemy as to why the Americans kept doing this. Nevertheless, U.S. commanders did little to suppress this practice because they felt it was good for morale. Some playing cards kept in the headband did end up serving a useful purpose. Often on patrol, each team member was assigned a particular card to aid in rapid recognition during the heat and confusion of a firefight. The North Vietnamese Army forces were not as daring with helmet doodling, but some did write a popular sarcastic saying, "Born in the North, died in the South." In the years following the Vietnam War, graffiti mostly disappeared from soldiers' helmets. The aftermath of the conflict triggered a total reorganization across the various branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. Because of this, units became more disciplined and cohesive, with very little focus on individual expression. Studying the helmet graffiti from Vietnam not only reminds us of the conflict between nations, but also of the anti-war movement and the social identity of the individual soldiers who fought for their country. If this story has changed the way you see the hidden human side of the Vietnam War, please subscribe and like the channel. We uncover the forgotten stories history tried to bury. Join us as we explore another remarkable chapter of military history in our next documentary.